Hello YouTube, my name is Octopus Joey, and I really like platformers. No matter what it is, as long as it's not terrible, I'll almost never pass up the opportunity to run, jump, and scream at my TV because I'm being too reckless. And that's what's so great about them. It's a fairly simple concept with almost unlimited possibilities. Sometimes your goal is to reach a certain point, sometimes your goal is to collect stuff, but whatever your goal is, it's usually very clear what you're supposed to be doing from the very beginning. And that is the art of the platformer. But video games can't be art. Stop being old! If an upside-down urinal can be considered art, so can an interactive world with an incentive to explore and progress. With that said, I'm gonna play the Itchy and Scratchy game. Joey, didn't you review that game like 2.5 years ago? Shut up, Joey in a different shirt. I'm gonna play it again. Alright. Before I do that though, I'd like to point out how this game doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. Let's be real here, the whole point of a licensed game is so that it'll sell by name recognition alone. So it would have made a lot more sense to make another game about The Simpsons rather than a game about a show within The Simpsons. Think about it, if you recognize Itchy and Scratchy, chances are you recognize The Simpsons. In fact, if you exist, chances are you recognize The Simpsons, but anyway, the point is, The Simpsons is just more recognizable than Itchy and Scratchy, so from the start, this already seems like a bad idea. But anyway, the Itchy and Scratchy game is a platformer. So it seems. You play as Itchy the mouse, and you have to avoid Scratchy the cat and fight him off whenever he comes up to you. Unless he just does something stupid like this, or this, or this. He's so jittery and all over the place that you can basically just run past him and not worry about him. Good thing he's not a big part of the game, right? Now 5 minutes into the game, you'll probably be wondering, where do I go? Why does this level seem to just loop around in a circle? Why is there so much unused space here? To answer the third question, the developers got lazy. To answer the first two questions, this isn't a platformer. I repeat, a game in which you do this, platforming, is not a platformer. Not in a traditional sense anyway. Platforming to progress is not the goal of the game. It's a fighting game, and your goal is to kill Scratchy. So basically, this game tricks you into thinking it's a platformer by having platforming controls and platforms and not telling you that you're supposed to kill Scratchy. So basically, this game is misleading in the weirdest way possible. Need an analogy? Imagine you're walking your dog and you see a sign that says the park is that way. So you go to the park and you're really confused because there aren't any park benches anywhere. And so you're like, what? Isn't this supposed to be a park? And then someone comes and tells you, no, this isn't a park. This is a Walmart parking lot. You turn around, sure enough, there's a Walmart behind you. What am I saying? As fighting games go, this isn't a very exciting one. There's a single attack button that hardly does any damage, so you have to find better weapons in the level. And no, that doesn't mean that there's an incentive to explore the level. It just means that you need to find one immediately, use it until it runs out, and run around until you find another. The weapons come in these boxes, and you can pick a specific one by timing when you pick it up. Every level has one specific item that's way more practical for killing Scratchy than the other weapons, and you're never told which one. It's just a big guessing game. And the weapon you're supposed to get varies from level to level. That's the whole game. Also, every level has an item box near the beginning, so exploring the level is completely pointless unless you run out of the item you're using, at which point it's more of an urgent chore than anything. Oh, and there's also a boss fight after every level. They suck. Basically, you just need to kill these wind-up toy cat things and collect 20 to 25 of whatever they drop and then throw them at Scratchy until he dies. So some of you might be wondering, how does the single player compare to the multiplayer? The multiplayer is actually much better than the main game. Because it doesn't exist. That's right, folks, now you can play a fighting game and be very lonely. Well, I guess you can do that with most fighting games, but now you have to be lonely while playing a game in a genre famous for having multiplayer. The controls in this game aren't bad, aside from the fact that they're platforming controls in a fighting game, and the different items kind of give this game some multiplayer potential. Why doesn't this game have multiplayer? On a more positive note, the music is alright. I mean, most of it is kind of generic, but it's not bad. I especially like the level 3 music. If for some reason you're stuck with this game, play up to level 3 and just run around. That way you might actually have some fun while playing a game. A big problem that persists throughout the whole game, especially the later levels, is that you have to find the items before you can kill Scratchy practically, and they all have limited uses. Meanwhile, every time you attack Scratchy, he just runs off screen and comes back with whatever weapon he wants with unlimited uses. I especially hate it when he magically gets the throwing weapon because he comes back on screen extremely fast and throws it at you, giving you little to no reaction time. And the throwing weapon does a lot of damage in some levels. Level 4 is really bad because your controls are slowed down because it's a water level, and as a result, you have even less reaction time than you did before, and it's literally impossible sometimes to move out of the way in time. And level 6 might just be the worst level in the game. Reason being, the throwing weapon is by far the most practical weapon in the level, and you can only use it 3 to 5 times every time you pick it up. Scratchy, on the other hand, can throw it as many times as he wants. When you run out of the throwing weapon, you have to run to the other side of the level and hope you can get another item box before Scratchy kills you. And Scratchy is very fast and random in this level, making it incredibly frustrating to hit him enough times. Oh yeah, and the boss fight is the worst part of this entire game. Bricks fall in random locations every few seconds, and there's no indication as to where they're gonna land, so they're basically impossible to dodge. Also, Scratchy has a bulldozer and can ram into you repeatedly. But the worst part is that if you go game over, you have to replay the level again. This is as far as I got last time I reviewed the game, but now I'm determined to beat this boss fight. The trick to beating this boss is... there is none. It's all random. So basically, you just have to keep playing until you eventually get lucky where the bricks fall and when Scratchy decides to ram his bulldozer into you. Yes, I finally beat level 6! But unfortunately, this game has 7 levels. So level 7, which is the last level in the game, is kind of confusing. The layout is very forgettable, and for the first time in the entire game, it's actually kind of hard to find Scratchy in parts of the level. I couldn't get him to stop following me in the previous levels until I could find a good weapon to fight him off. This level is just a big, confusing mess, and the final boss is just tedious. Scratchy is on an elevated platform this time, which means you have to hold the throw button for a second in order to hit him. So instead of being able to spam the item button in order to kill him quickly, you basically just have to be patient and do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Also, anvils fall on you at random. Great! I didn't bother actually beating the final boss because level 6 sucked all the patience out of me, but I can comfortably say that this game is not good. It's kind of hard to say whether or not this game had any potential. It tricks you into thinking it's a platformer when it's actually a fighting game, and the mechanics are kind of broken. But maybe there was some potential for a fighting game with platforming elements that relies almost entirely on item pickups that you use to kill your opponents. Duck Game! Duck Game is the Itchy and Scratchy game done right. In the Itchy and Scratchy game, only one item is actually effective per level. In Duck Game, everything's a one-hit kill, which means you actually stand at least somewhat of a chance if you have a worse weapon than your opponent. The Itchy and Scratchy game tricks the player into thinking it's a platformer when your goal is to kill an opponent. Duck Game avoids doing this by having a completely separate single-player mode with specific objectives, having somewhat small levels, and making it very easy to find weapons. And of course, Duck Game has multiplayer! Duck Game also has a much greater variety of levels, weapons, other pickups, charm, and oh yeah, it's actually fun! Now ask yourself, would you rather pay $20 and wait 3 to 5 business days for an awkward, broken mess of platforming and fighting that doesn't mix well at all? Or $13 on Steam for an awesome, fun, fast-paced, competitive, multiplayer fighting game type thing with platforming elements? Alternatively, you could just buy Smash Bros, but shut up, Duck Game is better, kind of. Really though, Duck Game is very different from Smash Bros in pretty much every way. It also helps that despite the fact that the Itchy and Scratchy game is supposed to be a comedy game of sorts, Duck Game is a funnier game because it gives you the freedom to do a lot of pointless things for comedic effect. So I guess the moral of the story or review or whatever genre of video this is at this point is don't make a fighting game that tricks you into thinking it's a platformer. I guess that means this video isn't really beneficial to anyone except game developers and people who find me attractive, and even then, it's not really beneficial to them either because I don't show my face for most of the video. I guess there's also the general public who might accidentally buy this game that stopped being published like 20 years ago. So anyway, don't buy that game. Buy Duck Game instead. My name is Octopus Joey. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and click either of the videos on screen for more. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/octojoey and follow me on social media at twitter.com/octojoey and facebook.com/octopusjoey.